Today, on Rise Up, we discuss the recent episode of the Risers Q&A. From visions of divine messages to profound inquiries about faith, justice, and destiny, this episode delves into some of the most intriguing mysteries of our time. This is Rise Up.
Good morning, welcome to Rise Up. I'm Alia Halal.
I'm Kevin Mahdi.
And this is our morning show where we basically give the glad tidings to the world that the Savior has appeared. That Savior being the riser or the Qaim mentioned in the narrations of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. We are living in a very incredible time where so much is taking place. So many prophecies are being fulfilled in front of our eyes. And we have that great privilege and honor and opportunity to be able to sit in front of you and tell you that the doors of God have opened for the world. God's kingdom is basically beckoning the world towards Him and saying, let's go to the man that He has appointed in this day and age. A lot of people, when they hear this, they are so amazed by it, taken aback by it, alarmed by it. But people have been waiting for this.
Definitely. I think if you go to every single religion in the world, or most of them at least, like the major religions that appeared in the world through history and that remain until our days, you will find that all of them have this belief in common. The idea that in the end times, or in a time that will come in the future, where there will be a lot of trouble for humanity, basically injustice will be widespread. In that moment, when it almost looks as if we lost all hope, there will appear a man who will fulfill the prophecies and will fulfill the mission of all the prophets and the messengers from the past. Whatever that Krishna and Buddha and Prophet Jesus and Mohammed tried to establish, he will be the one who will finalize it and will make a new world. He will establish something, a kingdom of God, that will spread justice through the whole earth, just as injustice was spread through all earth. So it doesn't matter where you go. In every single religion you will find this. So definitely every single person on the face of the planet has heard about this, or most of them have heard about this. And we are telling you good news, glad tidings. He is here with us. And one of the prophecies, I would say, that all of the religions have about this man is that when he comes, he will come with great knowledge.
Yeah.
He will spread a knowledge that nobody else has spread before, and he will basically unite all mankind in one religion. This is what the prophecies say. And how can he unite all mankind? How can he unite the Christians with the Hindus, with the Zoroastrians, who don't see that they have a lot of things in common? Well,
sure.
He will spread a knowledge that will show them how close they actually are, and how if we basically adopt his way of seeing things, not only will all the religions become naturally one because they are already connected and he's just joining the dots, but we will be able to push forward much more. We will be able to have a knowledge that is going to just
transform
change.
everything.
Yeah, the shape of the earth is going to be absolutely transformed by the knowledge that he spreads. This is what all the religions say. If you go and look at the knowledge of the Savior of mankind in every single religion, you will see that he will come. He will reveal great secrets that were hidden from the people. He will reveal what the prophets before didn't want to reveal to the people. He will make public what was secret for a long time. And he will do, basically, he will just make the intellect of mankind go to the next level. So we are here. We are here to give you the glad tidings. This man has already appeared. And guess what? He is answering the questions of the people all around the world, who they are sending. Thousands of people are sending him questions, and he is now sitting there and answering on a regular basis the questions of the people. So if you are interested in it, first of all, keep watching. We will share with you some of the answers that he has recently given, and you also have the access to the email that he has, and you can send your own questions and wait for him to answer.
So the email, it's the Mahdi has appeared 313@gmail.com. You can email him there. You can email the studio there. We'll actually take your questions, and hopefully when the time is right, you'll receive the answer from Abu Sadiq in one of these Q&A sessions that he is holding. And it really is incredible, right? Because you get to sit there and first off, you hear questions about different parts of life or different spheres of life that wouldn't have occurred to you.
Exactly.
That you didn't realize are even a question. But then also on top of that, the answers are so enlightening and so life-changing. You can really see the world in a different perspective after you hear the way that Abu Sadiq answers these questions. It is really phenomenal.
And we were there in this last episode that he released, and I remember every time he was revealing something, how the whole audience was like, whoa, right? And you can hear that in the video, especially this particular one was like this. And this is the thing, when you ask questions to the messenger of God, ask the right question, and he will give you an answer that will blow your mind and will make your life completely different.
It really is something incredible to see, and it's part of prophecy. This is the idea of true knowledge. True knowledge, when God sends a man, the man brings true knowledge to the people. It's not just knowledge that is there, something written somewhere. It's something that changes you, and it changes your life, and it changes your perspective. And you can put it into action. Knowledge that you can actually take and put into practical use that can benefit you and the people around you. This is the reason why the works of Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, are really gaining popularity across the globe, and people are very fascinated by what he has to say. Whether they are believing the religion or not, they are regularly viewing his works and watching. And we have a caller on the line actually. Let's go ahead and take this caller. It's Brother Mohammed from India. Hello, salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Salam alaikum, brother.
How are you, brother?
Can you hear us?
I wanted to ask. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I wanted to know your positions for the atheist people. Like, there are many atheists. What's your opinion on that?
Okay.
Our opinion on the fact that there are atheists, or what exactly?
Or what is our message for atheists?
Like atheist people. Yeah, atheism in general.
Yeah. So, can I answer this question? Okay, I was an atheist myself for like 9 years. And basically, what I can tell you is that the Ahmadi religion of peace and light is the only religion right now on the face of the earth who has that has an actual answer and an actual proof that God exists. So any atheist that wants to truly investigate about this proof that we have a book here called The Goal of the Wise. I'm going to show it on the camera.
There it
is. This book, okay? In the chapter number 30, I think it's called, is the chapter on karma. And there is a very long explanation by Imam Ahmed al-Hassan, which is, I'm telling you, this is the only explanation right now from any religion that can explain to you what is the proof, an actual proof that anybody can understand that God exists.
Yeah,
I don't know, if you are interested, maybe we can delve a little bit deep into this question.
It's door 22.
Yeah,
door
sure.
22.
Door 22. I'm interested.
Okay, perfect. So basically, in this chapter, Imam Ahmed al-Hassan and Abu Sadiq basically have a long conversation, because one of the believers was saying that, bro, if this religion is false, if the Ahmadi religion of peace and light is false, and the proofs are false, then I will become an atheist.
Yes.
And Abu Sadiq was a little bit. He didn't know what to make of this position, but he went to Imam Ahmed al-Hassan, and Imam Ahmed al-Hassan said, actually, this is the case, because the only true answer, if the religion that we are presenting is false, since we are the only religion that are proving to you that, you know, all the religious tradition basically comes to here, because there is this will of Prophet Muhammad that safeguards you from misguidance according to the beliefs of Islam. So we are the only ones holding this protection from misguidance and presenting it to the people. But if this was false, then of course, if this was false, then Prophet Muhammad had lied. Yes. This is not a protection against misguidance. So Prophet Muhammad is false. So then, since Prophet Muhammad claimed to be the successor of Jesus and the only person who claimed to be this specific prophesied successor of Jesus, if Prophet Muhammad claimed this and is false, then the prophecy of Jesus is false. So Muhammad is false, Jesus then is false.
Yeah.
So if Jesus is
going
false,
and going and going.
Moses has to be false because he prophesied that Jesus was going to come, and Jesus came with this prophecy. So Moses was false. So if Moses falls, then everything falls, because we can't go back further than Moses. We only have the Bible. We don't have previous writings from these religious traditions.
Yes.
Yeah. So everything collapses, and then what religion do we follow? We don't even know if God is true. So they start having a conversation on a very basic level of logic. Only what is the proof that God exists? Yep. And Abba Sadiq starts saying, okay, well, the proof is that there is a creation. And he says, okay, but if there is, okay, you say that the proof is that there is a creation, okay, but what is the proof that there is a creator?
Yes.
Because, for example, there is an argument posed in this book, which goes, if you accept that God can exist without having a beginning and without having created, you accept that something exists without being created.
Then why can't something else exist?
Why can't that be the universe? Yeah. If you accept this, why can't you accept this for the universe? Yeah. Like we are on a very so. Basically, I'm telling you, bro. If I tell this to every atheist and every person who I talk to this, because I really read deep into this book, into this chapter, because I was an atheist, so it was really interesting for me. So, if Imam Ahmed al-Hassan didn't believe in God, he would be the strongest atheist in the world. He has the strongest argument for atheism. In this book, there is also the strongest argument.
He really put it like to the test. He really took the idea of God existing and put it to the test.
He puts Abba Sadiq in a position in which Abba Sadiq says, I don't know what is the proof. I cannot tell you. So he says, okay, this is the proof. Okay.
And then he gives the answer.
He gives the answer. He says, okay, the proof that God exists is that everybody, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what's their background, even if they haven't heard about religion in their lives, there's tribes that have not been contacted by external. Yeah, everybody in their heart has the conviction that there is something that exists, something that is real, that must be obeyed or must be worshipped. Okay, so for example, he says, if you go to the tribes, you will find that they all worship something that they believe is the creator. And if you go to the hearts of the atheists, even if they deny it, you will find that they have this conviction within themselves that there is something that is real that must be worshipped.
Or adored, or obeyed, or submitted.
Yeah, we believe that worship is obedience. So what is this that I'm trying to say? Basically, he says the proof. He goes, the proof that this is the case is the fact that everybody experiences that thing judging us. So what does this mean? It means that people, naturally, you're living your life, you do a certain thing, and you see it coming back to you. For example, he puts two or three examples. He goes, the people who are disrespectful to their parents, when they grow up and they have children, their children do exactly the same to them. Somebody who kills dies by being killed. And somebody who fornicates, either their wife or husband or some of their family members will fornicate. And these three things, if you think about it, if you really think about it, for example, fornication is something that usually is made in secret. So who brings this justice? You do something to your parents, your children do exactly the same to you. Who brings this justice? At the end of the day, everybody, he says, reaches the same conclusion. There is something hidden, something that we cannot explain, something that science cannot investigate, but there is something that basically judges us and returns to us what we did. And this is why every single person at the end of the day has this conviction. Even if they deny it, they have this conviction. There is something going on in the world that basically is controlling.
That we do not know.
Say again?
There's something going on that we do not know, we can say.
And it's judging you constantly. So basically, what is this? This is judging you and is giving you justice.
There's consequences to our actions. There's some force that's responding to what we are doing.
Yes.
Like an equal reaction is taking place.
Yes.
So what is that force?
And it's a system of justice.
Yes.
What you do
and
comes back to you. Exactly.
It's so perfect and it's so equal.
Yes. So we're talking about a system of justice.
I want to ask something.
Yes. Go ahead.
I want to ask, does it apply to all the animal kingdoms or just human beings?
That's an incredible question, actually.
This actually applies to everything, because when you start investigating how karma operates, you see that, for example, you start going deeper into Gnostic and mystical writings, and you see, for example, that religions
because I have seen. Okay, so I have seen many animals killing each other, like monkeys kill each other, their tribes, and even cows and buffaloes kill each other. Yeah. So what's their judgment? Is there a law for them, or is there a religion for them?
Brother, it all depends on it depends on the reality of that creature, right? So there is an energy exchange. If there's a creature that is mindless and is just created and it's being itself because it was created to be itself, then for sure that's different.
But there is sorry.
No, you can continue.
Sorry, but
no,
there is a deeper level in this.
Intelligent creatures, because they have survived so many million of years, like they have evolved from.
Yes, they are intelligent in their scope. They're intelligent within their scope, but are they judged for going to heaven or hell? This is obviously not the case unless the reality of that creature, because we do believe also that there is the ability of the soul to exist in creatures other than the human being, and that there are realms.
Animals?
Yes, absolutely. We believe that it's possible. In fact, in the Holy Quran, there is even a verse where God's punishing a people, and He says, become apes and pigs.
And pigs,
He's saying that, become apes and swine. And why is He saying that? They're not going to transfigurate into an ape and a swine. They're obviously returning into that state because they are living as if they are apes and swine. So they may as well be living in those bodies.
And when you go, for example, there is a book that we believe that is actually one of the most authentic books in Islam. It is called Al-Haft al-Sharif. It is a series of conversation by Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, from him is peace, the 6th Imam of the family of Mohammed, with one of his closest companions, Mufaddal ibn Omar. And basically he explains to him there that actually the bodies of the animals were created as a punishment for Iblis and the sons of Iblis and for the sins of mankind. And they were created from the sins of mankind, and they are created so that people who are disobedient against God, they reincarnate into them and they are punished there. And this is why you see the animals, for example, they never have a good life. Like no matter where you go, animals are not really having a nice life.
For the most part, we'll see that. So some animals will be what we call musk.
I may disagree with that.
Some are not. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not all animals which are musk, but you will find that there are some animals who are in that state. So it's specific. We cannot say for 100% the rule is that all animals are bad or all animals are good.
Yes.
We're saying that some animals can be that entity that exists for a soul to live in and learn something, so it can move on to the next state and elevate.
It's
Okay, that's done with the animals. Now I want to ask about what about the micro world, like bacteria, viruses.
Okay.
And other living organisms that we can't see with our eyes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do they have the soul?
That's a very fascinating question, brother. I personally would like to forward that to the Qaim himself.
If you know about the fungus, like it has survived over 15 million.
Yes.
Over 15 million years.
Yes.
So, what do you have to say on that? And many creatures. That's just one I can't remember right now.
To be honest, brother, we've never asked him this question. I'd love to ask Abba Sadiq from him his peace that question in particular, because it's a very fascinating question. Fungus or fungi and bacteria and viruses. What is the reality of these kinds of organisms? It would be interesting to see what he would say about that.
He has said a little bit about it. And there is there is a series of videos that he made where he's talking about the deeper level of religion. He made it in November, if I'm not mistaken, last year. You can go to his YouTube channel and watch it. One of them, just from the top of my mind, one of these videos is called "The Messenger of God Frees Us from the Matrix." Okay, so it's a series of videos about the deeper level of religion and how there is always like a hidden version of religion that only the true followers attain. And in one of these videos, he was saying, for example, that Prophet Mohammed, peace be upon him, and his family said that the jinn live underneath, or demons live underneath the fingernails, right? So now we know that there is a bacteria living in the fingernails. So he basically this is why you have to wash your hands and cut your nails and all this stuff. And basically, he was saying, okay, so there is this idea, and now science has confirmed this. But what if, he was saying, this is actually, for example, jinn, we know that sometimes they are visible, sometimes they are not visible. Sometimes jinns, basically, we believe that they are extra dimensional beings that live in this dimension, but partially. They can manifest in this dimension, but they are also living in different dimensions. So basically, he was saying, he was just suggesting, what if, for example, this bacteria is the part that we can see from jinn?
Yeah, I want to add to that, like in our blood, there is a white blood cell known as WBC.
Yes.
So it constantly fights with all the, bacteria, viruses around you and on your body, on your face, everywhere. So do they have a soul? Like they fight for us constantly without you even realizing, or without us even realizing about it?
I think that's a very...
What is their reality?
That's a very good question. And the reality of everything, obviously the knowledge of that comes from the Imam. We've told you what we know of what we do know. Yeah. But the idea of the WBCs and the RBCs and the viruses, I think it would be definitely something
amazing,
to ask him.
Exactly.
And I would love to forward your question with your permission to Abu Sadiq from this piece.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. And thank you for those interesting questions.
And it is a time where people can start asking these kinds of questions, because it is a fascinating topic. I truly believe that you should go and read The Goal of the Wise, because it will open your mind so much that you will not see it. And there is many layers of everything, basically. Yeah.
And Brother Mohammed,
how many pages?
Oh, goodness. Let's check, actually. I know it's 600 something. 600,
it's 626 pages long.
Not adding the index and the forward. Yeah, it's quite long. It's 601. It's 601 pages. You can definitely, download it on our website. You can order a copy for yourself as well and check it out. And also, with your permission, we can actually take your phone number, and someone from our outreach team can go into depth with more of your questions and answer them for you if you'd like that.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful.
I would like to.
Yeah.
We will take your phone number and we'll make sure to be in touch with you today then. Thank you so much, brother, for calling in. We appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, this is a great time to be asking these questions.
Definitely.
High chance that we get the answers from the Riser Abu Sadiq. He's open to questions and open to answering them. People are flooding the inbox, by the way. I have to say, sometimes we go through them and we are amazed. There are people sending in dreams, people sending in questions like this from the field of science, where they're like, okay, what about the animal kingdom or microorganisms? That's a great question. People are sending questions about physics and chemistry and esoteric knowledge, Gnostic knowledge. They're asking questions about everything, and they should.
I think one of the things that perhaps some people who are not familiar with our call may find a little bit intriguing and fascinating and maybe even unexpected is how much of a scientific mind Abu Sadiq actually has, right? It is so weird to see, it is rare, it is not normal, not usual to see a religious leader knowing so much about science and understanding so much. He is able to have a very deep conversation with scientists and for real, if you're interested in this, and there's people, I'm personally not very, my mind is not very scientific. I like knowing about it, but I'm not this is not the type of mind that I have. But I can assure you that anyone who really is interested in these fields, definitely you should go and check Abba Sadek's and there's so much. For example, there is this idea in physics that is called the multiple. I don't even remember the proper name, but
is it the idea multiverse theory?
Yeah, the idea that there is basically a level in which every single possibility...
Right, infinite realities.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So he has confirmed that this is...
That's an amazing piece of knowledge, which, by the way, you can find out more about that in the Goal of the Wise.
He has confirmed...
Amazing, really amazing.
He has confirmed that reality is a simulation, that the universe is a simulation.
And he uses scripture to back up what he's saying, and he uses, as you said, Kevin, modern day understanding of the science, the scientific world to also back up what he's saying.
Yeah.
And the best part is when he speaks, it's not something that's heavy to understand. No. He really breaks it down piece by piece so that you just digest it very easily and you understand what he's talking about. Yeah. That's the thing.
So there's many scientific topics in this book. Yeah. You should go and read it and definitely be amazed. He has confirmed alien life exists.
Yep.
Yeah. So he has proofs in the book. There are proofs that alien life exists.
Amazing.
So really, 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 you should go and check it and bring your questions to us.
Absolutely.
Because according to the questions, the answers are going to be. So definitely, if you are interested in that,
check it out.
Yeah, and drop him a message.
And email us at themehdihasappeared313@gmail.com if you have any questions, and we'd love to see what your questions are, and hopefully they also get answered. Yeah. Now, some questions were recently answered in one of the recent Q&A sessions that were held in the Holy Basilica of the community of the Riser Abba Sadek. We had the privilege of being able to be there and witness him answering those questions, and we want to share those answers with the rest of the world. So let's buckle our seatbelts and go into the first segment. Let's go ahead and watch the first question and answer.
I'll start with the first question, which I think is a question that's been on the mind of many, and especially parents, and it's a question regarding children. So the question reads, how will we provide our children with education, safety, and discipline? No matter how much we keep our children away from danger today, they inevitably learn bad information from their friends and surroundings. They're exposed to this. The age of losing virginity has fallen below 15. Primary school boys constantly talk about porn, sex, and sexual conversations. If we restrict phones and tablets, they cannot keep up with today. If they are given phones and tablets, they are exposed to this. What is the most logical solution? I want a catechism on child discipline from you.
Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, as far as children go, children are the most important thing in the world, and that's what we're working towards. We're working towards building a divine just state and a future world that they will inhabit. So actually, it's everything that we do is all about the children and the future. The Ahl Bayt alayhi salam said that the child, his upbringing actually begins before he's even born. It begins in the womb of the mother. The Ahl Bayt alayhi salam said that those who are pleased or happy in this world are those who are happy in the womb, and those who are miserable in this dunya are those who are miserable in the womb. And so initially, upon the pregnancy of the mother, it's very important that the mom be in a good state of mind, and that she receives a lot of love and care, and that she takes care of herself. She takes care of her mental well-being, her physical well-being, her health, because a lot of that psychological diseases, the unhappiness, the depression of the mother, other psychological issues can be transferred to the baby that she is carrying. And so that's the first thing. Once the baby is born, the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam had mentioned that there are 3 stages of the child's life, really. And they are broken up as such into 3 sections, or 3/3 of 7 years. The first 7 years of a child's life begins from the time of birth until they are 7 years old. And at this stage, the Prophet Muhammad and the Ahl Bayt said that the child should be left to play. So we shouldn't discipline the child during this period. We should just provide him with a lot of love and care. And the Ahl Bayt said that that kissing is absolutely necessary. We have to kiss our kids, and we got to kiss them so much. There's actually a hadith from the Ahl Bayt that says that every time you kiss your child, that you raise a degree in paradise. You know, so the kissing of the children is associated with degrees, and so we got to do a lot of that. We have to show equality between our children. We shouldn't prefer one over the other. Or else it might happen like it happened with Yusuf from his brothers. The Ahl Bayt said that when we get gifts, for example, for our children, that we should present it to the daughter first. If we're going to prefer anybody, then we should prefer the daughters, and that the daughters have special blessings, and that those who do not prefer sons over daughters, they achieve special ranks in paradise, and that the best of the genders to have as a first child is actually a daughter rather than a son. So that's an amazing thing. And also the Ahl Bayt said that whoever has a child must act like a child with them. And so it's a commandment that we revert down to a state of being like a child when we're around them, to play with them, to go down to their thinking level and provide them with a lot of love. So the first 7 years is just showering them with kisses and play and love. The second 7 years, the Ahl Bayt say, these are the 7 years of discipline. And it is in these years that we teach them morals and manners. We teach them the right and the wrong. These are the years that we have to be a little bit firm and a little bit stern with them if it is necessary. The Ahl Bayt and Ahmad Hassan said that a righteous father is not a father that just gives their children everything that they want. A righteous father is the one who will instill in them discipline. And keeping them in line is really, it's shaping their character and allowing them to deal in a correct way with the challenges that they will face later on in life. The Ahl Bayt said that the one who transgresses against their father as a child is, if left like that, that will be the person who will cut ties, mistreat, transgress against their father in older age. And so it's very important that we discipline them during these years. It is these years from 7 to 14 that we should make them love religion, make them understand religion. And it is those years that we have to educate them in all things, even educate them, give them sexual education. That's really important. And it's not something that we should shy away from. I think too many religious families avoid talking about this topic, and that is a lethal mistake, and it's against actually what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. If there were shame in discussing these topics, then these topics wouldn't have been addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, for example, in the surah of Yusuf, when he described the story of Zulaykha and Joseph and that whole fitna that took place. God wouldn't have said in the Bible that he initially created Adam, and then Adam was alone, and he saw that it was not good for him to be alone, and so he created for him a partner, which was Eve, and he commanded mankind to be fruitful and to multiply. So all of these things we have to teach our children. Even the actions of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah when they were attempting to rape the guests of Lot, that was a topic that was in the Quran. And so obviously all these topics and much more we need to address with our children. There's a very important hadith from the Ahl Bayt that says that you should talk to your children before the non-believers talk to them. And so we have to, during these years of discipline and education, open up that dialogue with them and make them feel comfortable enough to speak to us about anything in the world that they want to. We as parents should be the source of their guidance. Now, in terms of phones, Ahmad al-Hassan, alayhi salam, he made it very clear that it is forbidden for any child. It's incorrect for any child to have a phone when they're under the age of 14. So from these first 2 years, two stages of their life, they should not have with them any phone so that they don't get poisoned or they're not introduced or indoctrinated with certain ideas from people that are immoral or lewd or come from different backgrounds before we have a chance to. And that's the fulfillment of the words of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam when they said that talk to your children before the non-believers should. So during the second 7 years, we get to talk to them fully without influence from the outside. Homeschooling in today's day and age is much better. There's many countries that allow homeschooling in the world. Even the non-believers themselves, there's something incredible going on in the United States right now. The United States is one of those countries that allows for homeschooling to take place. And they have a Department of Education, and even now by their own admission, by their president's own admission, the Department of Education is poisoning the minds of the children. And so he's actually trying to shut it down. So if the people that don't even share with us our faith and the countries that are non-believing countries themselves are saying that the education system is horrible and it's corrupting our children, then we should listen to that. And we should take advantage of laws that are in particular countries that allow us to homeschool and home educate our children. And the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they spoke a lot about that. And parents and children that actually receive home education from their parents, they end up being much smarter. And you can't fully control what's going on with your child so long as they are mingling on the outside with people that you don't know. And for that reason, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they always said that living amongst the Muslims or living in the lands of the Muslims is an important factor because a person, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam said, they are as those whom they resemble. A person who acts like somebody, dresses like somebody, talks like somebody, walks like somebody, does the things that the people do, he is essentially one of those people. And so if you want to control what your child is like or how he ends up, you have to surround him with a nice community of believers. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to give parents the opportunity to control how their children are educated and how they're raised by making them be part of a community and friends with and build a society of people that share the same values and the same faith. There's still a final stage, which I didn't mention, and that's the stage or the age from 14 to 21. And so here you notice something really important, and that is that the child's not fully grown actually until the age of 21. And so they begin when they're still in the womb, and they remain a child until the age of 21. And those final 7 years, remember we said that the first 7 years is what is play. Yes. The second 7 years is discipline and education. The final 7 years from 14 to 21, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam say, take your child and keep him by your side. Keep him with you as your best friend. Keep him with you as your companion. Wherever you go, the child's doing like an internship with their parents. And so he's able to help them navigate the difficult decisions in life and to navigate through their teen years, which is the most difficult stage of a child. Then the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam say, if you do correctly these 3 stages, after that, if the child disobeys and it has no morals and abandons religion, then there's no good in that child.
It's such a complete manhaj, such a complete curriculum, and when you hear it, you just see how far off and how lost, the education of children is, and how lucky we are to hear these words from you and have this clarity, and also see the children here. They're the most beautiful, brave, courageous, faithful creation that we can see, because they have that chance to be raised in that school of the Ahlul Bayt under you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
How fortunate are we? We were just saying that right now, Kevin, right?
Yes.
Listening to this. How fortunate are we that we have laid out for us by someone that God has sent an entire blueprint on how to ensure that a child is living a secure life amongst adults that they can trust and is growing up into a wholesome, loving, compassionate, fulfilled human being that's able to benefit society and actually be part of a better world that's becoming more enlightened. This is something Abba Sadiq is providing for the people. We can testify to that. And how blessed is this?
I think, first of all, nobody in the world understands this. Nobody's applying this. I mean,
no.
In societies and all this stuff in the dunya, there is no one who is telling you, hey, this is how you should do it. Nobody. And the imams from the Ahlul Bayt have been telling the people about this for a long time. Yeah. And I mean, there's many things that you can say. First of all, it begins since before
the child is born.
Yeah, childbirth, which is something that psychologists nowadays they
apply this. Yes, it's actually proven, and there are studies that have been done on this, and it's something that's been taken very seriously, that you should speak to the child while it's in the womb. Some mothers read to their children.
Yes.
They actually there are books that are published for reading to your baby in the womb, and it is something that they do. They play music.
Yes.
It has an effect, that kind of...
And a woman has to be... of course, the family has to make sure that the woman is happy.
That's very true. And do you know how many narrations there are about this? That the woman, when she is expecting, has to be treated in a very different way. The husband has to treat her different. The family members have to treat her different. There are even narrations that say make sure she's living in a spacious environment, and there are narrations on what she should eat and not eat. So God is very invested in the condition of this unborn child and the mother. Before it's even born. I mean, think about that.
Yes. He said also, children are the most important thing in the world, which is amazing.
That's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
It really is. Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah, and if you think about it, children are the physical manifestation of the future. You know?
Yes.
They are
they are the future.
They are the future.
We know that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So of course you have to treat your children according to what you want your future to be.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Wow. So how good do you want your future to be is the question, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So then he basically divides, right? The Ahlul Bayt divided the childhood in 3 stages, from 0 to 7, from 7 to 14, from 14 to 21. He said a child is a child until the age of 21. I mean, you're still still growing.
You're still maturing.
Yeah, exactly, until the age of 21. And then you have these stages from 0 to 7, where you don't really need to instill discipline in them. It's too tough for them. This is something. So
they need guidance, but it's not like a strict discipline with a punishment that's being meted out because they didn't listen. Because there's just very little at that point.
Exactly.
By the age of 7, they really are just being children, and they should be allowed to be children with the right guidance, of course, and with the right kind of authority over them.
Exactly. Then from 7 to 14, this is when the true discipline starts.
Yeah, that's when they have the capacity to understand. That's when they can understand what to do and why something is right or wrong. That's when they can really translate that in their minds.
You see even that, for example, there's kids who don't learn how to read until the age of 7, right? So at 7, it seems that you're meeting them at a stage where
they're ready.
They're ready, exactly. All of them will be ready.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if I heard at some point that every 7 years, every single cell of your body is replaced.
Yeah, I have heard that as well, actually. Maybe we should ask Dr. Irfan to make sure.
Yes.
But it would be an interesting pattern.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So from 7 to 12 to 14 is discipline. He was saying, teach them before before the dunya, you know, before these believers teach them. And he said, we were talking about how, for example, he was saying we need to talk to them even about sexual education, and the fact that these stories are in the Bible and in the Quran, it means that God is not ashamed of talking about these topics. He deems them important enough to be spoken about, even in the terms that they are spoken about. Yes. You have to tell them even about what Sodom and Gomorrah people did, right? And everything. Like, you have to teach them. And he was saying it is a little mistake not to do it, not to talk about sexual education to your children. And nowadays we're seeing many movements speaking about this, speaking about how if you don't teach your children stuff like how to protect themselves, how to understand, like a true understanding, a proper understanding, there's many people in the world who will take advantage of that.
So to clarify, of course, we're not saying that you should go and teach little children about these concepts. We're saying that when the child is ready and at a stage where they're going through puberty, when they're becoming adults, when they're understanding the world, we should not be blocking them from reality. Yes, if they have questions and they're curious and they want to understand what's happening, how their bodies are changing, how life is, they have to understand that and study it according to their level, of course. So it is important not to be kind of confined to how certain cultures are, where they completely block the child from knowing anything about that world, while there are other cultures that are way too liberal with telling them everything too quickly. There's a right balance, a moderate way of doing things without being ashamed, without being threatened or afraid. And it is important to protect our children, of course, from being too exposed to what is not wholesome and what is not pure and what is not healthy for their minds.
But they need to know what is wrong and what is right.
Exactly.
You know?
So they have to be taught that, because if they don't get told by us, someone is going to tell them.
Exactly.
So there has to be, and this is what Absaik is indicating towards. He's saying protect your children by preparing them and giving them that guidance and showing them there's nothing to be afraid of according to their level, according to their age. That's it.
Alhamdulillah. And then it becomes, which for me it also is like very fascinating. No, the next stage, 14
to 21.
To 21. Every single stage has something. Like the first stage, you have to act like a child with your children.
Yeah, that, by the way, that was so beautiful when you said that.
Yes,
isn't it?
And the kissing is the kissing part. All this stuff.
Compassion and love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the discipline stage, how you have to talk to them before these believers come and talk to them, and then for the third part for me, like the idea of these years are like an internship that the children have to do with their parents. You have to keep them by your side as if they were your best friend. You have to make them your best friend, by the way, and you have to just help them navigate life as much as possible. Yeah. That's also amazing. Because nowadays, I think societies across history, they have these rites of passage where you basically become an adult and become integrated into the world of the adults. And it is, I think every society sees that this is important.
For sure, absolutely.
But nowadays, what happens is that in this stage, this is the difficult stage of the children. Parents are too busy with their works.
That is very true.
This is a stage where they just leave them navigate their life, and you know.
It's like society is structured in a way where the family unit is not able to be healthy anymore. It's not able to be wholesome. People aren't able to spend time together. They're too busy worrying about how to survive.
Yes.
And of course you need to survive and you need to help your family survive. But it shouldn't have to be that way. There should be a lifestyle where parents have time for each other and their children. Children are being given the attention they need and the correct kind of education by people that have their best interests at heart. And they should not live in a world, children should not have to live in a world where they are taught not to trust adults.
Exactly.
But this is the world we have created now.
Exactly.
And when Abu Sadiq says in the answer that he believes wholeheartedly that it is part of human nature to have a blessed, wholesome community for children to grow in, where they have all these aunties and uncles that they know and love, and they are loved by, and they are safe with. This is how God intended it to be. And this is what Abu Sadiq has created. We are watching before our eyes. I am seeing my own children and other children around me who are living a life I could never have dreamed of. because they have no clue of what it means to actually hate one another, to actually not trust each other, to not share with one another, to be selfish or greedy. It is not a concept that is in their hearts or minds, because their lifestyle is a wholesome lifestyle, as it should be. This is how it's meant to be.
I'm just thinking about my
Lost
own,
for words.
my own childhood, even, you know, like my own these years.
Right.
What happened? Like and
yeah, when you look back and you see the difference, right?
Exactly.
And you say, wow.
And I can really know. I know for sure that, for example, in my late, you know, childhood stage, when I was this according to this definition, when I was 19.
So you were in the
20,
internship stage.
21, and I didn't have, you know, my mom was working. I didn't have a dad, so I was feeling. If I just had a
mentor,
you know, somebody with me, I couldn't be struggling so hard. So turns out that this is the stage where you have to keep your children closer. The years where yeah, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of, you know,
you have to have that bond, that security.
This is where you have to keep them like closer and closer, and of course, like, you help them navigate. You give them what you need, what they will need when they don't have you by their side.
And how can a child go wrong or struggle in life when they have this kind of blueprint that their parents are following to keep them safe and to keep them happy and wholesome? Yeah,
to the point that Abbasaik says, if after this they turn bad, there's
something
no
very wrong
goodness
after
in
that.
them.
Exactly. No, for
because
sure.
you did the right thing.
Exactly.
You know, you did what God told you to do.
No, I have to say, Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, the most amazing father of everyone, of ourselves, even of the adults, and he has laid down something very beautiful there. Anyone out there who's listening and who has children, I'm sure they must be very relieved to have this kind of, like I said, a blueprint. It's like this manual that you just follow, and you can see your children being wholesome children and growing into very good people.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And I also really like that he emphasized that when it comes to children, you should give them a lot of that love and that hands-on relationship, that physical contact where you're hugging and kissing them, because they need that. And there are unfortunate children out there who don't have that, who are, and it affects them. It really affects them, and it's heartbreaking. And this is what we do, right, Kevin? Why are we doing Rise Up every morning? Why are we getting up every day and saying to the world, hey, there's a man that God has sent, let's find him, let's identify him, and let's support him? It's because, like you said earlier, the children are the future. And these beautiful angels that come into this world, these pure souls, these little beings that are just from us, we want them to be happy and have a future. And the only way to do that is together.
Yeah, and we want them to be reliable also. I remember the other day I was going through my highlights of the books that I have read, and I was reading this very interesting note that I don't know where I took it from, but it says that we often wonder what kind of world we're leaving to our kids, but we never stop, or we almost never stop to ask what kind of kids we are leaving to the world.
Wow.
Right? So I think we want to be relieved in the day of judgment, that we can tell God, look, I gave you these children. Yes. They are good.
Yeah, we want to know we're good parents.
Yeah,
we want to know that we did a good job, that we have good families. Yeah. And we want to make a world where fathers don't have to struggle to put bread on the table, where mothers can be mothers and can live a healthy, wholesome life with their children, where families can be together. And this is the world that Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, is creating right now.
Yes.
And there's so much we could go on about regarding that topic, but there were more questions answered in the episode, and we want to go ahead and see what else was said. So let's go to the next question and answer.
I'll move to the next question. This question is from somebody who's not a believer. And he's saying, I'm directly writing this because I'm very much focused on this call. And I want this call to be correct, but still I'm taking precautions to investigate whether it's a matter of truth. Salam to you all. And then he says, my problem with the call is, right now, you, Abdullah Hashim, are the head of the gathering. And it's upon you to choose the next Mahdi and the next Jesus, right? For that, you must be fair and approach as many people as possible, Because if you miss someone and he can be a Mahdi, then it's a loss for you because you chose from a limited number of people and others were left out. So how do you determine who the next Mahdi is? Right now, many people think that you can appoint them as the Mahdi and they feel good about it without realizing how serious this matter is. So how do you choose? You look into their knowledge and what else? And how are you making a fair judgment while selecting? Right now, many are thinking if they can connect with you, they can become a Mahdi without realizing the consequences and the responsibility. I have tons and tons of questions which I want to solve with you because more than you, I myself want this call to be true. I hope you heed my words and we shall discuss it later. Peace, MD Allem.
So that's a good question, and the answer is very simple. I don't choose, actually. The core of our religion is the basis that God is the only one who chooses. Inni ja'alun fil ardi khalifa. I am the one who's placing a caliph in the land. And so it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's able to. In the Quran, we have a response that's given by God to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that basically, if he doesn't go forth with appointing Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, it would be as if he did not do anything. So God chose Ali ibn Abi Talib. He commanded the Prophet Muhammad that he has to appoint him as his vice chair. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not get a choice in that matter. Only God is the one who appoints his successors or his representatives on the earth. We have a similar incident that takes place in the Bible. There's a scene in Genesis where basically Joseph brings his two sons forward and he makes them stand in front of Jacob, and he's waiting for Jacob to give his blessing. His blessing is one of the aspects of the blessing is the divine appointment. And he puts forward first his eldest son, Manasseh, and basically he places Manasseh on his right-hand side to receive the greater blessing or the appointment, and he places his younger son, Ephraim, on the left-hand side. And Jacob goes forward and he crosses his arms like this, and he does the opposite of what Joseph had wished for, and he gives Ephraim, actually the younger son, the greater blessing and the appointment. And he says, but don't worry, Manasseh also will receive, he'll be a great people and he'll be a tribe in his own right. But it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah alone who chooses the successor.
Yes. Thank you so much, Osama.
You're welcome.
An interesting question, because it also kind of, what it indicates? It shows that there is this lack of understanding in general that the world has regarding divine appointment, because it is a fact that religion, mainstream religion, has really done a very good job of eliminating this very core principle of religion. And mainstream religious scholars hardly ever, if ever, honestly, discuss divine appointment. There is this notion and understanding that men come from God, but the fact that there is a succession of wilaya, as we say in Arabic, and the fact that there is God's own investment in who should be ruling, this is very diluted and watered down. So the questioner is asking, well, how is it that Abu Sadiq chooses the next Mahdi? And Abu Sadiq immediately just takes that axe and hits the idol of confusion with the concept of, well, there is no I choose, you choose, it's God who chooses. Yeah. And it was always God who chose.
Exactly. And I think, for example, there's a hadith of the Isra wal Miraj, in which it ends up by saying, by Allah, this is the proof that the imamate of Ali ibn Abi Talib didn't come from Muhammad but from God.
Subhanallah.
Because he was being told in the heavens, like, do you know, this is my brother, like, where is your brother? And people were asking him about Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely, I think, of course, the idea is basically that the messenger of God, the successor from God, he has this divine inspiration. He can be told by God who the next one is, and this is the case, it's never a choice that they make.
Yes.
It's always something that God reveals to them. This is the next Mahdi. That's it. This is the next successor.
How it is. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
The entire plight of humankind is on this. This is the point of all our strife, all our confusion and misguidance. You want to find the reason, the one reason behind everything that's ever gone wrong with people. It's this. It's the idea of, why should I follow the man that God has sent? It's always that. That was how it began with Iblis. That was his issue. The issue where Adam is appointed by God. God says, I'm going to blow my spirit and everyone has to prostrate to him. And then Iblis doesn't, because he says, why? Why should I? This is the beginning and ending of every problem that exists on planet Earth right now. And you might not think it is, but really it is. Just look into it and you'll understand.
Iblis says, if you like take anything else as a veil except for Adam, I will prostrate to it. So it is so Iblis who wants to choose.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And the problems of the world are not because people don't believe in God. And it's not because they don't want to worship God. Iblis believed in God and Iblis wanted to worship God. The problem is submitting to the man that he sends, submitting to the man that he appoints himself. That's where the issue starts for people. That's where they say, why should I really support Imam Hussein? Imam Hussein is the Imam, but I don't want to go to Karbala and die, so let him go by himself, and which is exactly what the Muslims of the time did. It is when people see that Jesus is being arrested and taken in front of the authorities, and the disciples run because they say, yes, I know he's Jesus. I know that there is a God, but I don't want to support the man that God has sent right now. That's where the problem starts. So it is, if you want to see yourself and test your faith in God, yes, you must be a believer in God. You are most probably a believer in God, and you are most probably a righteous person who wants to worship him. But are you worshiping him the way he asked? Or are you worshiping him the way you want? This is where the line gets blurry, right?
Yeah, it's that.
That's how it is. So it's God who chooses. Simple question, simple answer. Let's move on to the next one.
I'll move to the next question. It says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of God, the one, the conqueror, all safety, love, peace, and glory is from him, whom there is no beginning nor end, nor equivalent, nor master, the one closest in distance, yet unimaginable even to the ethereal. God bless his beloved Muhammad, his righteous family, and his ordained Imams and Mahdis, peace be upon them, and the true believers past, present, and those yet to come. I had a linked question on my mind for some time and wanted to seek pure light on this matter, and not refer only to the questionable historical texts, which are likely to hold bias and corruptions. Can you shed light on the history of Britain and Ireland in terms of God's dispatched prophets and messengers, the time of their advent, their names and historical mentions, their gifts and teachings for their time? And why was it different from God's proofs in other regions in that time? And actual locations in the UK where they lived and preached, and who their adherents were, and what were they known as? And if their physical origin was the UK, or were they refugees from elsewhere? And if so, did they go by different known names? And did their original mission continue, or get reassigned because of their migration? And is there any inner meaning or reason of why Britain was chosen for the main hub and evident Qa'im's rise over the past number of years and for the foreseeable future? Thank you for your guidance. God bless you and all those in the community, big and small, known and unknown, and fi amanillah, from the heart, in the safety of God, whom there is no aman except from him, until we finally embrace again in the bodies your brother and old friend, the belated sinner, Ali.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to my dear brother, Ali, Muhammad Ali. And in regards to his question, inshallah, we're going to be doing an entire episode or episodes where we will talk about more of the unknown prophets and messengers, many of whom came to Europe and also specifically to the lands that are now known as the UK. I will state this, though. I'll state a couple facts about the UK and about its relation to religion. So we've said previously in some of the episodes that the Prophet Muhammad said that there were 124,000 prophets and messengers that were sent to mankind. And yet when we look at the number of them that are mentioned by name in the Torah, in the Bible, in the Quran, we get less than 100 names. And so there's a lot that has been forgotten by history, or people did not know them. They knew them by other things, as was the case with, for example, Aristotle. When some of the Muslims had gone to Egypt and they came back and they were cursing the Prophet Aristotle, and they were mentioning bad things about him. And then the Prophet forbade them from cursing him. And he said that Aristotle was a prophet, but his people didn't know, meaning they only recognized him as a philosopher and a teacher, but they didn't know that he was a prophet. So that opens up the door to this aspect that there are these characters that are influential in the world that people didn't know that they were prophets because they might not have said, I'm a prophet, or history did not, preserve that aspect of them. Mm-hmm. Even in Judaism, by the way, David is known as a king, but he's not known necessarily as a prophet. But in Islam, he's counted as a prophet. Same thing with Joshua, he's counted as a judge, but not as a prophet necessarily, etc. And so we do have a couple characters that are well known in UK folklore, and they are based on characters that were real characters that lived, that were vicegerents of God, and that lived a long time ago on this land. One of them, his name is Merlin, and the other one is named King Arthur, and they're quite famous. So inshallah, we'll be in a special episode, because it's a very long story. We'll go into more detail about that. And we'll speak about the real names and some of the events that took place in their life. Another thing is that there was this hadith from this. Now, I mentioned something nice. Here's something not so nice. There was this hadith from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam that spoke about how the Dajjal was chained up on an island. Yeah. And the island that the Dajjal was chained on was the UK. Oh. And when he broke free, it was when the UK went and they basically formed the United States of America, or the people went from UK to the US, and then the US broke its independence, and then it became the land of Dajjal. And that's why United States is known for the symbol of the one eye. It's on the back of their dollar. We spoke about that a lot, and we wrote about it in The Goal of the Wise, and we covered it in the Arrivals, and we're going to be covering it a lot more in the Arrivals too, inshallah.
Wow.
So those are a few facts about the UK.
That's fascinating. I'm excited. I can't wait for the rest. Thank you so much, Hassan.
Oh my goodness. At that moment, I think you can see the crowd's reaction when he mentions names like Merlin and King Arthur, and the way everyone just gasps in astonishment, because, of course, we know those names, but we don't associate them to religion. We don't associate them to God and the divine. Yeah. But they did have an impact on our human history, and there's something about names of that nature and those characters, and I guess there's a lot to reveal about them. Very exciting.
Yeah, these are characters that definitely left an imprint in culture since a long time ago. Yeah. I'm just remembering right now, Merlin appears as a character in Don Quixote, which is the biggest, novel in Spanish-speaking world. Wow! Right? So he appears there, and definitely the sword and the stone. I think in
the sword and the stone.
I think in Mexico, in my part of the world, we're not very familiar with this story, but we know that there is this story, that the King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I'm just. They say that they went and they went to look for the Holy Grail as well. So I am really excited to know.
I would love to know more about this. It is so exciting. Yeah. It's something to really look forward to, and it also kind of shows us how there is so much of our history that we don't know. There's so much that we need to know. And let's take a second to realize something, which is that the world at large that was waiting for a Mahdi, the population that knew of a Mahdi and were waiting for this incredible person to show up and kind of take charge of things, they know very well that the Mahdi is prophesied to bring this knowledge to the people, that he's the one who indicates to us what our history was about, what the story really is, where we all come from, and connects the dots with what we don't understand, so that we can know the big picture, so that we can understand everything better. And this is what Abu Sadiq is doing. No one can deny that. He's actually bringing forward little glimpses of this true knowledge that's out there, hidden away. And these glimpses, there's a lot more behind them, and we will get to hear about it and know about it. A lot of it also relies on ourselves, our own capacity to receive that knowledge. It relies on our own spiritual journeys and our own ability to receive and willingness to actually dedicate ourselves to the knowledge that is coming forward. Because knowledge, when you hear it but you do not apply it, becomes a proof upon the individual. It's a heavy burden to carry. If you know something and you do not act accordingly, then this can be held against you. And God is aware of that. So he, in his own mercy, takes things slowly and lightly with his people, because he doesn't want that the people are alarmed or taken aback by what he is saying. He does it bit by bit. There's this narration that explains how the knowledge of God is different from other knowledge, because it is like oil, not like water. It is heavier. Yes. And it is harder to drink. Yes. Water you can drink easily. Oil it takes a bit more effort. Yes. So this is the thing. Knowledge can be heavy. So we have to be a people that are also training ourselves to receive what it is that God's vicegerent is giving us.
Definitely. And I'm just going to mention another connection that I just noticed. I was thinking about what is said about King Arthur by Miguel de Cervantes. He says that basically the English people used to believe that that after he died, or he was like in a weird space where he died but he didn't die, or something like this, and he would come as a raven, and every raven, like they could believe that it was King Arthur. And I was thinking that there is a connection. There's narrations from Muhammad and the family of Muhammad that say that when the deceased people, when they pass away, every Friday they can come, like a bird will come. In the form of a bird? Exactly. Yeah. And it would be this person who is like watching you.
That's interesting.
You know?
That's an interesting connection.
That's an interesting connection.
Perhaps there's some truth in there.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the full episodes about that topic come out, and we actually get to see and hear more about the fact that there were prophets actually sent to areas like the United Kingdom. I mean, how incredible is that?
Exactly.
Well, until we get those full episodes, we should go ahead and continue with this one, see what the next question and answer are.
I'll move to the next question. It says, "Peace be upon my master, Abu Sadiq, from him is peace. Peace be upon the lamp in the darkness. Peace be upon the banner of piety, the one with sound reason, the refuge of creation, the heir of the prophets, the perfect example, the best call and the proof of God over the people in this world and in the hereafter. May God's mercy and blessings be upon you." My question is, how can I carry the axe in order to destroy the idol that resides within me first, and then destroy the remaining idols? And may Allah send His peace and blessings upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, the Imams and the Mahdis.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayhima wal Mahdi wa sallam taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayhima wal Mahdi wa sallam taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayhima wal Mahdi wa sallam taslima. So it is very easy for people to follow a messenger that is dead. And that's why all of the great religions and the great prophets and messengers that ever came to the earth, they only became popular after the death of the leader. Christianity exploded on the scene after the death of Jesus Christ. Islam exploded and became super popular and widespread after the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the suppression of the Imams from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. And as such with Buddhism after the death of Buddha, Judaism after the death of Moses, etc. And so the reason for this is because it doesn't usually always require a whole lot of fighting against the ego when you are when you have a certain idea in your head of what that leader's like. And so when you're asked like what was Jesus like, there is the real Jesus, and then there's like, a couple billion different versions of Jesus. So when you ask what God's like, there's what God is like, and then there's billions of different versions of what God is like. Each person in their own hearts and minds, they construct, I think, an idea of what God is and what the messenger is. And a lot of times that idea is mirroring what they themselves like and dislike. And so how the questioner is asking, how do we carry the great axe in order to destroy the greatest idol, which is the idol within our own selves? And that is by not following your own self, denying your own self and your own intuition sometimes, and forcing yourself to submit to the Imam of the time. The Imam that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that whoever dies and doesn't know the Imam of the time dies the death of ignorance. The Imam that we are all obliged to follow and submit to, and whoever submits to and listens to and obeys is listening to God. That is the best, fastest, quickest, and hardest way of destroying the ego.
SubhanAllah, thank you so much, Allah Sadiq. All the life is with being around you and being the Imam of the time.
I think that question was really, really good, and something that it might sound like a very simple question, but it is integral to our journey towards God. You cannot start your journey towards God without picking up your backpack and putting it on and making sure that everything is in it that you'll need. Do you have your flashlight? Do you have a map? Do you have a compass? Do you have everything you need in that backpack when you're setting your foot onto that journey, onto the path? Yeah. And this question is basically part of that backpack you need, which is, okay, I'm going to face a lot coming on the journey. How do I actually do it? How do I conquer the true enemy, the true obstacle, which I'm not really going to find on the path, I'm actually going to find inside while I'm walking? That is a very good question, and I loved the answer.
Yeah, and the answer is very clear and extremely... You notice how it is extremely dangerous when you reflect upon it, because basically what he's telling you is that, of course, you cannot combat your ego with your ego. You cannot combat your ego with your opinions. You need to give control to somebody else.
Exactly.
You need to. So the only way to fight your own ego is by obeying somebody else. That's the only way.
But Kevin, how many times have gurus and spiritualists spoken about the ego? How many times have people said, hey, let me teach you how to fight your ego? And they all talk about it. So many people have written so many books and made so many videos about the ego and how to fight the ego, how to control yourself, etc. I've never heard, have you ever heard someone explaining it in this way, where there's actually a way to do it, where you're not just cutting off the head of the hydra and creating another 2 heads and another 4 heads?
I mean, he's explaining it in the only truthful way. Because at the end of the day, if you're following a guru, for example, and doing what he's telling you, you are fighting your own ego. But you're replacing it with the ego of your guru.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So
somebody else's ego is going to take the place of your own ego.
So the only way to combat your ego is by giving control to somebody else. So if that is the case, then absolutely the only way that is a safe route is to find the man that is appointed by God. There is no other way. This is the only way you can fight your ego and replace it with the Holy Spirit.
Are you going to replace the darkness with darkness? Or are you going to allow the light to come, and the darkness has to give way to the light now, because that's just the nature of how light and darkness work.
Yeah.
So it is so important to understand that. And when Abu Sadiq from him his peace indicates the fact that, look, the idea of a people following a messenger, they preferred when he's dead. Why? Why is it easier to follow a messenger when he's dead? Because now your ego can take control again and say, hey, I'm going to create the perfect messenger in my head, which is basically a reflection of your own ego.
Yes.
And then you're like, I love that messenger. That's basically my own reflection. That's easy. It's not easy to do it when you're standing face to face in front of someone else and they're saying, look, this is how it is.
And you see,
it's not what you like, perhaps.
All these cases of people who abuse others and say that God is like, no, this is because this is the way that God wants it to be.
Exactly.
Right? And it's just their ego. It's just themselves, their own preferences. They are attributing them to God, and they are just claiming to be following God when they are actually just following their own personal preferences.
Yes, and it's a slippery slope, by the way.
It is a dangerous thing.
It's a very thin kind of line that you're walking when it comes to the ego. It's tricky, it's sneaky. It will find ways to go back and control you if you're not careful. And the minute you feel good about the fact that you've controlled your ego is the minute that your ego is in control again. So we really cannot do it alone, and we cannot do it with another fallible person who's just like us. It has to be someone that God sends, that we give the reins to. Just like in the case of the chariot of Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna gives the reins, or is controlling his senses and holding the reins with Krishna by his side. That's why he was able to basically win the war within and without, because he had Krishna with him. But alone, could he have controlled those senses of
everybody knows that it's impossible.
It wouldn't have worked.
You always come to places where you don't know what to do, and you know that you don't know what to do. So what do you do then? You need guidance. You need guidance from a higher being. You need guidance from God.
And we want guidance from God. The human being is desirous of guidance and desirous of being controlled, not in a controlling, imposing way, but in the sense that you have within you the components to be enlightened, and we have components within us that are basically kind of degraded or that can dehumanize us. Now, the question is, how do we control that which can dehumanize us, and how can we elevate those components that can make us humane and human? So, how do we do it? The only way to do it is by finding the person who is the best human being, the best form of a humane individual who can teach us. And how does he do it? He does it by showing us how to put down that which dehumanizes us and makes us lesser than human. And he helps us strengthen that part of us that can help us elevate and help us be more like the angels. As Imam Ali said, the human being can become worse than an animal or better than an angel. We have that potential within us, and we need to tap into it, but we can't do it without a teacher. It's very simple. It's
simple, and it's difficult for many people.
Exactly. You know? It's both.
Yeah.
Right. So, love that answer. Let's go ahead and hear some more amazing questions and even more amazing answers in the coming up segment.
I'll move to the next question. And the person is saying, Salam, dear father. Thank you for responding. I smoke cannabis and quit before using hypnotherapy. And it worked for years. But then I thought my will would be stronger and I could have one when I was feeling weak. But it was like I'd never quit. And right now I feel like I need help to quit smoking again.
As far as our religion goes, we don't say that something's haram unless God makes it haram. And we don't say that something, other than that, like everything else is halal. And God never said that marijuana or cannabis is haram. And we've made it very clear in The Goal of the Wise and also on an episode on the channel that cannabis is halal. And it actually has a lot of benefits to it. But anything done too much can be poisonous. You can poison yourself with the halal. And Imam Ahmad al-Hassan said that we should fear not to anger God even in his halal. And so that means what? That means that even the halal can be a source of anger of God. Even doing too much of the halal can be a cause of misery. Like a person whom eating is not haram, for example, eating is halal, but a person who overeats will commit a haram. It's called gluttony. And a person, for example, who drinks too much water, they can end up getting water poisoning and they die from it. A person who watches too much television, they can poison their brains and it can rot. And so anything that's done in moderation is good. Too much or excess of it is evil. Eating meat that's halal is a good thing. Eating too much meat is a bad thing. And the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam mentioned that when they said, don't make your bellies graveyards for animals. And so the key here is that we do things in moderation. I think that because she's saying that she now has reached a stage where the cannabis is controlling her, she's unable to quit it even though she wants to quit, then obviously she is overdoing it and she's reached a point of addiction. But I don't think that she needs hypnotherapy or some sort of magical potion to abstain from the cannabis. I think it's sufficient for her to remember her children, to remember her husband, to remember her imam, to remember the time and the age that we're in, to remember God and to remember how great of a creation human beings are and the willpower that God has given us. And she should just exercise a little bit of willpower. It doesn't take much and she can do anything.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank you so much, Abu Sadiq.
God bless you, Hadi.
I really love that Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, knows us and understands us and actually believes in the people. He believes in our abilities, and he says a bit of willpower is something we all have. And also he kind of breaks down this scary monster that exists in the minds of people of like, oh, this is bad, this is extreme. And he says, look, anything done in excess is wrong. It doesn't even matter what it might be. It might be something as simple as drinking water. Drinking too much water can actually kill you if you overdo it. Of course, it's very hard to overdo it, but there are some substances which are more dangerous. Having said that, there are other substances that are immediately blacklisted and said that they are bad for you and you shouldn't use them. For example, in the case of the Muslim world right now at large, they will widely agree that the 6th covenant says alcohol is impermissible. However, in the 7th covenant, we know that it is now allowed. But when you present that, many Muslims say, how can you say that it's very bad for you? When the truth of the matter is, again, excessive alcohol is absolutely wrong and bad for you. But in moderation, it is not.
Exactly. And there's scientific studies that show actually that drinking alcohol, for example, in small quantities is beneficial for the human body. And I wanted to say also that the last bit of this answer, when he says, I don't think you need hypnotherapy for this. I think you just need to remember God and remember your imam and remember your children and your family and just exercise a little bit of willpower. I think that's a very... and I have heard Abu Sadiq, I don't remember exactly what was the question, but I remember back in the day in the Black Banners Forum, somebody asked a question and he also said, you just need to exercise a little bit of willpower for this. I don't exactly remember, but what I remember from back in the day and what I remember for feeling now is an empowering statement.
It is empowering.
It is telling you, hey, within you lies the ability to fight these things.
Yes.
You don't really need a lot. You just really need to push through it. There is something that you will have to fight, but you're strong enough.
Yeah.
And you can. So that's a very, very empowering.
It's validation. It's the Imam actually validating your ability. So it's a huge blessing to receive that, because sometimes it's very hard for us to believe in ourselves.
Exactly.
But it's very easy to believe in the Imam of the time.
Especially when you're when you have an addiction.
Yes.
When you have an addiction, I think the constant struggle of wanting to overcome it and then having this issue where you go back to your addiction, it feels really, you feel ashamed, and you feel like you're not worth it and you will never be. Exactly, it's soul crushing. Yeah. So when he's telling you no, just push it.
You can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you need to hear that sometimes from someone you believe in, because then you can push yourself.
Exactly.
And this is something that Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, always does. He always insists that we believe in ourselves. And something very beautiful that he taught us through this journey is that yes, you have to have faith in God. Yes, you have to have faith in the Imam, but you also have to have faith in yourself if you want to succeed in your path and on this journey. Not having faith in your own self and in your own abilities can lead to making terrible mistakes, and it can even lead to you falling. So believe in your own self as well. Believe in your own abilities, because we have to. We call ourselves Ansar Allah. Ansar Allah means supporters of God. If you want to give someone support, you have to yourself know that you are strong enough to support someone. You have to have that strength from within. You have to be a pillar. So if you're not a pillar for the Imam, you're not being an Ansar. And Abu Sadiq wants to teach the people, look, yes, I am the father, I am the shepherd. Abu Sadiq says he is the father of the people, he's the shepherd of the people, but he wants us to become strong like him. He wants us to emulate what he is, so that we can actually help one another. We can benefit society.
And
he is the ultimate teacher.
And you realize over time that it's just a matter of acknowledging it. The strength is already in you.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of realizing that it is there and just following through. And it gets better with practice. You start today, you do something. Tomorrow you will be able to do something more. Tomorrow the next day you will be able to do something more and more and more and more. And then you will realize actually it was just a matter of being brave enough to try. You know, that's it. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
And a little bit of willpower, because there is going to be resistance from the exterior world. There was going to be resistance from your own self. But just push through it, and you'll be able to overcome anything. He said.
Anything.
How
powerful.
Yes.
How powerful is that? And I think we can honestly testify to that.
Absolutely.
And when we entered this journey, a lot of us had problems. We had things we were struggling with. We had insecurities. No one comes into the fold of God complete and whole. They come broken. They come.
This is why we come
damaged,
because we know this.
Because exactly. And He teaches us, you're not damaged, you're not broken, you can be healed, you can be fixed, and you can do it yourselves. And He empowers us to actually heal what has been broken from before. It is such a blessing, and
amazing.
We are so fortunate that we have the Imam of our time here with us in the public, at the forefront, answering the questions of the people and actually allowing them to have access to him. So, alhamdulillah for that.
Alhamdulillah.
I think we have just enough time to do one last question and answer for today. Yes, the producer is letting us do it. So let's go ahead and do one last question and answer for today.
I'll move to the next question. The person is saying, hello, I'm reading The Goal of the Wise. It's very interesting. I have a question. I'm not yet sure about joining you, but it would be important to know the answer if I wanted to. I'm 30 years old and I want to marry soon, inshallah. I live alone and I'm in debt. I did not work enough to pay my rent and taxes and so on. I cannot leave my place without paying my debt, at least my rent. He is a good man, referring to the landlord, and he is very understanding. I feel bad about my situation and I don't know how to get out of it fast. So now to my question. I'm not asking for money and would not accept money. But am I excused for not joining you because of debt, helping my parents and wanting to marry? Greetings from Thun, Switzerland.
I think the answer would most definitely be no. And I think that you can, if we took this question and we imagined that it was a scene in the Bible, for example, or in the narrations from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, imagine Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is leading his caravan and he's going towards Karbala. And he's knocking on the doors of the people. Oh, wait a minute, that actually is in the narrations. He's knocking on the doors of the people and he is pleading with them to support him and to support the cause. And there's a famous hadith from the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam that says that verily whoever hears our call for support and doesn't support us, they are in hellfire. And so those who didn't support the Imam of their time, definitely they're in hellfire, and definitely they're outside of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's the whole point of creation according to this religion, is that we recognize God in human form in that day and age through his representative. Verily, God blew of his spirit into Adam, and so in every day and age there's an Adam, and we have to prostrate to the Adam of the time, just like the angels prostrated to Adam in that time. And those who refuse to prostrate, whether it's because of arrogance like Iblis or because of debt or any other reason, they're not excused from it. And the narrations make it clear that those that didn't support Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, that they are people basically that partook in the assassination and the murder of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. The same thing is clear in the Bible, in the story of the rich man who comes to Jesus and he says to Jesus, I want to follow you. And Jesus says, well, then sell all of your belongings and give it to the poor and join me. And he says, I can't. Or the other person that, he was like, let me go bury my father first, or this or that. None of these excuses were acceptable. And Jesus made the remark that it's more difficult for a rich man to enter into the kingdoms of heaven than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. And so I say that it's more difficult for somebody who doesn't support the Imam of the time because of paying taxes or taking care of parents or because of a desire to get married. It's more difficult for them to enter into the kingdom of paradise than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle.
Oh, subhanallah. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما.
I like the fact that this question actually connects with the previous question, and it connects with another question that I remember Imam Ahmed Al-Hassan was asked years ago. He was asked, can I take a mortgage because I cannot afford my house? And he said, no, that's not halal. And he said, and if you had faith, you already would have two houses.
Two houses, yeah.
You know? And it really like connects to it because why? Because okay, you may be in a specific difficult situation, but all you need to do is again believe in yourself, push, believe in God, and He will open the doors for you, right? So really, you find yourself in a situation when there is no excuse. Anyone who wants to push it will push it,
yes.
And God always gives a lot in exchange for a little. So really, if you want to join, if your intention is to join, then just believe that God will open the doors for you and go for it.
Yes, I think it's a matter of with God, it's all or nothing.
Yes.
And how many times in history have people lost family members because they believed in God? They've lost people that they love and people that say they love them, but as soon as they say, I want to support God, the people who say that they love them say, I don't want you to. I want you to do what I want. And this is the question that we must ask ourselves now. What are we willing to do and how much are we willing to give God? Are we willing to give Him our all? How much of God do we want? Do we want all of God? Or do we want 20% of Him? Or do we want 50% of Him? The people who really want God 110% are going to give 110%. That is always the case, and that is the case today. I guess we've come to the end of our show, Kevin, for today. Time really flew, and I really enjoyed going over the content with you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Really enjoyed that. And we still have some left. We'll be covering them tomorrow, inshallah, on Rise Up. So tune in for that tomorrow morning. Thank you for tuning in today. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.